everybody. I think we'll get started here. Thanks for hanging out with us on a beautiful January evening. I am Erin Peterson. I'm the Director of Mission and Partnerships for the Colon Cancer Coalition. I am thrilled to be kicking off Colon Cancer Awareness Month in March in January here with you tonight, talking about Blue4 CRC and how we can raise awareness throughout the month of March in each of our communities. I am excited to have Fight CRC here with us today, as well as two incredible advocates talking about their experiences with proclamations and lighting things blue. And once we go through those presentations, we are going to talk to you about a little bit about sharing your own personal story as part of this March journey. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. Use the chat throughout the presentations, please. If you have questions, we will do our best to answer them all in a Q&A session at the end, and some may even be answered throughout the presentations as well. If you want to tweet along with us, use the hashtag Blue4CRC, and then also be sure to tag Fight CRC and Colon Cancer Col on Twitter. We're excited to get started. I'd like to just give you an overview a little bit about what Blue4 CRC is. We're really looking at a joint effort between the Colon Cancer Coalition, Fight Colorectal Cancer, American Cancer Society, and others to turn our communities blue and raise awareness about the importance of colorectal cancer screening in March through proclamations, blue landmarks, and other efforts. I also want to thank this year that we have two sponsors that have stepped up to help support the efforts, Bear and Natera. All the resources that are referenced throughout the presentation should be linked on the Colon Cancer Coalition's website at /Blue4CRC. Feel free to use that. And then we can also address any questions or look at Fight CRC's website as well. But all Fight CRC is linked from that page as well. And if there's anything else that you're looking for, please let any of us know. That I will turn this over to Elizabeth with Fight Colorectal Cancer and let them get started.
Hi all, and thank you for being here, and thank you Colon Cancer Coalition for hosting this. I'm proud to introduce Beth. Beth was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer during a routine screening at 50 years old. She went through 25 rounds of radiation treatment with 24/7 chemo infusion, then surgery with an ileostomy, and more chemo before finally becoming NED. Today, she's a Fight Colorectal Cancer ambassador and advocate, which she will get into now during her presentation on how to secure your state proclamation for March Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so she can get started. 1 second. Can everybody see it okay?
We can.
All right, I'll pass it over to you, Beth. Oh, you're muted, Beth. Oh, we can't hear you.
Okay, I found it.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Beth Cornegay, and I'm currently 58 years old. And for the past several years, I've been securing the Kansas State Proclamation each March. And it's something that I look forward to do. And I take a lot of pride in being able to secure that as well. As a 7-year almost colorectal cancer survivor, it makes a difference to a number of people. And I'm here to tell you how easy it is that anybody can actually do it. All right, so next slide. Okay, so I know that the Fight CRC organization has put together a really awesome toolkit that gives you all the tips and tells you exactly how to submit the proclamation depending on your state. Each state is a little bit different and the requirements are a little bit different, but all the links in that document are very, very helpful. Next. So here's an example of how it looks, and there are links embedded in the document itself as well as contact information. And it's been a little different the last few years, last couple years because of COVID. I always request an in-person signing with the governor of the state of Kansas. And the first year I got it. And then after that, you know, COVID hit, and so it didn't work out. So, but it doesn't stop me from always asking for that. Next slide. So this is part of the toolkit here. You'll see it can be a little intimidating if you don't really know how easy it is. It's really easy just to cut and paste everything. Now I can tell you that, for example, I've got the Kansas Proclamation, and I'll show that to you in a bit. And it has a lot of the verbiage as far as the whereases and things like that. That's not something that we have to make up. The Fight CRC organization in the toolkit provides all that. So it's as easy as cutting and pasting. And then there's also a letter if one is required. I know for the state of Kansas, you just go to the state's website. There's a click for proclamation. You fill out a little bit of information, cut and paste it, and you're done. Next slide. And then just wait for the state to be secured. I know for Kansas, they usually respond right away, an auto response just saying that it has been received. And then I start getting correspondence saying that the in-person signing has either been confirmed or denied. And if it's denied, that's not a big deal, because usually there are so many other organizations and groups that are trying to get different proclamations as well. And I know for the state of Kansas, I think the governor only allows 10 groups per month, and they're all on the same day. So I think they just don't have the staffing and that sort of thing to do that. So to get them in the mail works out great. Okay, next slide. So that's me. I was asked to talk to a local reporter here in Kansas City live on the morning news. He was diagnosed with stage 2 colon cancer in December, so the year before. And so I was actually able to get extra copies. That is one thing that you can request. In the state of Kansas, you can request up to 5 copies. I always try to get a few extra because I never know who I might want to give one to. I've given them to other colon cancer survivors in the community, people that I know, people that are newly diagnosed, like the reporter here, Matt Stewart. Next slide. That might be it.
That's it, Beth.
Awesome.
I'll stop sharing my screen if you want to show anything else on your end.
So this is what the Kansas State Proclamation looks like. See if it's here. It's got all the whereases here in the middle, and then the seal, and then the signature of the governor. So let me see if I can get it a little closer. Yeah. So that's what that looks like. I also got one from the city of Shawnee, which is where I live. The mayor actually gave me a proclamation as well. So that was kind of nice. And that was last year was the first time for that.
All right, thank you so much, Beth. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll bring Beth back here at the end for her to answer any questions that you might think of as as we continue. I'd like now to introduce Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is a Texas, Houston native. She's volunteer extraordinaire, does a ton of work in the colorectal cancer advocacy space, both for us and for her work and for Fight CRC and everyone else. So Allison, I'll let you take it away. I'll go off screen and share my screen, and you can get started on how to turn landmarks blue.
Thank you so much.
All right, see if I can remember how to do this. It's been so long.
There is a gray box. Want me to share mine? Maybe. I don't know why I see a gray box.
The box is gone?
No, it's still there. Give me.
It's gone now on my end.
Okay, it is gone. It's gone now.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Perfect. So as Erin said, my name is Allison Rosen. I'm an advocate in many different arenas, and I also happen to work in cancer outreach, education, awareness. You name it, I do it, all because I'm a stage 2 colorectal cancer survivor. TikTok. I am on TikTok now, but I will do anything, wear a poop emoji costume, do whatever it is to spread awareness about colorectal cancer and the importance of screening, because screening saved my life. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about what I do in Houston. And I turned the city blue, but I also do a lot of other things. So Erin, next slide. Essentially, we make this a whole sort of awareness initiative. And the mission is very simple. As this Blue4 CRC is essentially mission, but for us, multifaceted social media marketing campaign aimed at raising awareness. And in Houston, we have the largest medical center in the US. So there are a lot of different medical center institutions. And so there's a huge community of people that come here for cancer, cancer treatment, cancer, anything related to cancer, but also we're a huge city. I think, I don't know, maybe number 5 in the US. So I can drive an hour and still not be out of Houston. Okay, next slide. So how to accomplish your goal? I'm going to talk about a few different things. I'll probably skip over the proclamation, but give you a little bit of information how it's done in Texas, since Beth did a great job talking about how she does it in her state. So this is sort of what I'm going to briefly talk about: identifying stakeholders, how to request local landmarks to go blue, and the messaging, getting the proclamation to go along with that, and then how I sort of reach out to the media and what I do on social media, which there will be a TikTok about it this year, of course, and then different tips and tricks that I've learned over the past few years in order for me to be successful. Next slide. So stakeholders. So as I said, I work in cancer prevention, cancer outreach, education. So there's a lot of different medical center institutions, and for us in Houston, I can't do it all. I started doing this myself a few years back, and I think I got about 5-6 landmarks and buildings, including our city hall, and some really nice big landmarks to turn blue. But then I realized there's power in numbers. So I reached out to the local American Cancer Society and where I worked, because I was doing this as a volunteer with the Colon Cancer Coalition. So at the time I worked at a cancer center, Baylor College of Medicine, Daniel Duncan Comprehensive Cancer Center. And so with ACS, with the coalition, with the cancer center, we all sort of had, weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, sometimes monthly meetings to sort of talk about this, what we could do as far as turning the city blue, but then also what else we could do along with it, so that, like Erin said earlier, we have messaging. So when people see things blue, they'll understand why. So one person cannot do it all. There are probably local survivors just like you, or patients, or a medical center institution where you got treated that would want to be involved in an initiative like this. So reach out to them, ask your doctor, and if your doctor doesn't know, they'll give you the name for maybe the PR person at your hospital. But essentially, they want to help because they all want to do awareness things related to colorectal cancer. Like I said, we had sort of like a solid committee by the end of this. And it wasn't just me doing everything. A lot of people knew about this building on this side of Houston, and this, because again, Houston's huge. I live in one area, so I don't know on the east side of town what buildings are there that have LED lights that can turn blue, and someone else was on the south side. So it's nice to have people that live in different areas of your city. If it's a large city, obviously if it's smaller, you don't need as many people, but if it's large, it's helpful to have people that live in different areas, and you combine your resources so that you're not reaching out to everybody and spending all your time doing this. So you see a picture of our little committee here in Houston with one of the medical student volunteers that I got to wear the poop emoji costume along with the inflatable colon, which I will talk a little bit about at the end of this. So next slide, please. So requesting the landmark go blue. So this is all in a packet I know that Erin has on the Colon Cancer Coalition /Blue4 CRC website, but I use this is sort of like my guide right here. So if you look around your city when a sports team is playing or during Christmas, even now, there probably are still some colors, mainly your downtown or businesses or hotels or organizations have lights at the top of their building. And if they are any color, red, green, yellow, they have the capabilities of turning blue, most likely. Not always, but most likely. So you also can go Google. I did a Google search of Astros. Houston Astros won the World Series a few years back. So I Googled Houston Astros downtown skyline, and I got a picture of all the buildings that turned orange for when the Astros won. And that was really how I figured out what buildings had LED lights and which one would turn blue. So when you're calling and or emailing, I find calling easier because they can't ignore a phone call. When it's a public landmark, you look for a request form. So for our city hall, there is a request form on their website to turn a landmark city hall blue, which then in return will do some bridges and whatnot. So there might just be a form on the website that you fill out, which I did earlier for Houston. And I have already started to submit my request now because Beth pointed out, just like what I found out over the past few years, there's a lot of things going on in March, St. Patrick's Day, other things going on, March Madness. So I try to give them a week and or one day specifically that I want them to turn that color. I ask for a week, you ask for more, maybe you get a little bit less. So I ask for a whole week. And then if they say they can only do one day, I pick a day, and that's the day I tell everyone that I want that says they can only do it for a day. So essentially, Public Works, you ask for either the communications or marketing manager, or you ask for the building manager, Department of Transportation operations manager. There always is somebody. So if you call and say, who is in charge of the LED lights on this building? It might not be, so let's say a building is the ExxonMobil gasoline, that's where they have their main offices. They're not the people that turn the lights a different color. It will be sort of the real estate agency that owns that building. So also look to see who owns that building, and that's another place to go in order to try to get the buildings to turn the various colors. So you can start with marketing and communications manager, then you go to general manager or property manager. If that doesn't work, I look for the real estate agency, and then I email whoever is in charge of renting out property within that building. So again, on the bottom, the biggest thing, the most important thing that I do at the beginning is Google search for, again, some big thing, Christmas downtown skyline colors. And then you'll get that. And then that's where you can sort of start. I think right now you can sort of drive around as you're doing your daily activities, drive around. And I noticed our airport, which turns blue every year, I noticed that's usually white. But during Christmas, it was red and green. Other times it's pink or purple. So I start out also with the biggest buildings and landmarks first. So if you get City Hall to agree, then the airport is going to agree, because they always ask me, well, is the city on board? So if the city is on board, then you get all these other government, organizations or institutions or other smaller things that are like, oh, well, if the city's doing it, then I'll do it. Next slide. So these are just a handful of buildings and landmarks that I've gotten to turn blue. So we have a large medical center, like I said, but it starts with City Hall. And then I go to all of our medical center institutions. Those are sort of the next places. And there are bridges over our major freeways that have the capabilities of turning blue. So what I suggest, if you haven't done this before, is start with, as you're driving around at night, look around to see what has colors normally. If you have a sports team that has blue colors, there you go. You don't even have to ask them to change the color. You just have to reach out to them and ask, hey, I see that you have blue LED lights in your building. I'm doing this awareness campaign for colorectal cancer awareness. Could you, I'm going to do a press release, or I'm going to create a list of landmarks. Would you be on board with March 8th, your building being blue for a specific, for colorectal cancer awareness month? So you explain a little bit about what the month is, and then you ask if they're already blue, will you just be a part of this campaign? And you also say that the city is doing it. You're working with, Colon Cancer Coalition, Fight CRC, the American Cancer Society, and all these. You can list some of the other people that are involved. People want to be a part of a larger campaign like this. So if you get, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the biggest places, 2, 1, then all these others will sort of trickle in. So the building on the bottom in the middle, Methodist Hospital, is always blue. I obviously have to ask them so that then they in return they can say, yeah, on March 8th, we'll be blue for colorectal cancer awareness month, and we'll post on our social media talking about this. And so you'll see on the next slide, you can go to the next slide, sort of things that I give them. Oh, we can skip over the proclamation since we already talked about that. But so social media posts, I give them these specific social media posts so that when they say, okay, we'll turn blue, okay, we are blue, but when we'll be a part of this larger initiative, I give them suggestions for social media posts. So they post a picture of their hospital and they say, we are excited to join landmarks across the country, go blue for colorectal cancer awareness. And so they don't have to do anything. They're social media marketing people. All they have to do is change this to fill in their date and the name of their landmark, the name of who they are. They can tag. We want them to use, obviously, the hashtag Blue4 CRC, so it will go everywhere. There are other hashtags that are examples, and really, it's so easy for them, especially if they're already blue. If not, you can say on this specific date or in this week, you'll see other posts like this as well, and the coalition always shares on social media too. So not only will they be sharing, but other people nationally will be sharing their posts as well, which is always good exposure for them. Okay, next slide, please. So media outreach. I know I talked about, okay, you get the building to turn blue, you get them to agree, you give them what they need to do on social media, so they'll tell everyone why they're doing it. But then also going beyond that, I try to go on the radio, I try to go on the news, I try to go on everything. And I know Erin's going to talk a little bit about sharing your personal story. I do a little bit of, that, but really my focus is talking about why they're blue. I do say, well, they're blue. I'm doing this because I'm a colorectal cancer survivor. I usually get a doctor that I know that I've worked with previously to come along with me so that we can talk about why the buildings are blue. For other people, and call to action is for them to take a picture and post themselves with the blue buildings. And then I have the doctors come on to talk about why we're doing this and why it's important to get screened for colorectal cancer. So you can see the reach is great. This one radio interview I did reaches 8 stations, and we had their audience reach. This is from them, is about 11,000 people. And this is Sunday morning at like 7 a.m. But they've done this, they've tested this. And then you have Fox 26, which is a major news station in Houston. That again, we did like all of like a 2-minute thing, and 71,000 people saw us talk about this. And so you give them a picture of a building that previously has turned blue. You can use one of ours from Texas. You can use one from Minnesota so they can see an example. And then you get all these other people. Again, make sure you share the hashtag. Make sure you have a call to action. Post a picture of yourself with a blue building and tag us and use this hashtag so we can share it. And then on the next slide, I'll show a little bit more about how we have a press conference and other events throughout the week in order to help promote this as well. So sort of tips and tricks to get this accomplished. Start early. I've already started now. Some of the buildings in Houston have requests from last year for this year. So start as early as possible, especially if it's like a sports team and large institution or large organization or city hall, or, you know, a large person that you might have to go through review channels in order to get to the right person. Like I said earlier, if you still see a building in a different color, you have October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If it was pink, it can turn blue. And if they did turn pink, you can also Google that, breast cancer awareness building colors, and look at your skyline or look at other buildings. And if they did it for breast cancer, I use that and I say, hey, you did this for breast cancer. I'd appreciate if you do it for colorectal cancer, because we're the second leading cause of cancer-related death. So I use the stats to help convince them to do it. If they did it for that, they should do it for this. I always get other local survivors to join me, helping, as well as coming to a press conference that we have every year with our proclamation and talk about why our buildings are blue. I will start with some emails and fill out some forms, but I always call and follow up to make sure they got my email, and they can't really ignore you that way. Again, like I said earlier, mention other landmarks that have already committed. Our airport will do it if the city is on board. So it's a no-brainer. She does it every year as long as the city's on board. And they always are. They've never said no to me in every year that I've done it over the past, I think, 7 years or so. Start with the marketing communications department, then they'll tell you who to reach out to in facilities, and they'll help you get it arranged. No place is too small. If you see a bank, there's a Bank of America, I think, right up the street that had blue lights. It's a newer bank. We have plenty of Bank of Americas, but I've never seen a newer one in blue. So I'm going to reach out to them, or I'm going to go in to the bank and say, hey, who's in charge of your lights? Can you be a part of this initiative? So it's a bank, if it's a hotel, if it's a small business, anyone that has lights, anybody can be a part of this. And they want to. If you say, hey, city's doing it, all these other people are doing it, they want to be a part of it, especially if they're small, and tell them you'll post their picture. If they post it on social media with the hashtag and tag everybody, you'll share it. And so they're getting advertising without even trying. I urge you to reach out to your local American Cancer Society to help, because this is something that they want to be a part of. I guarantee it. They've been a part since the very beginning. After my first year of doing it myself, I reached out to my local ACS reps, and they've helped. They have contacts at some of the buildings you might have contacts at. So have them help you with all the things that you're doing. We add a press conference every year. We didn't get to do it last year because of COVID. I hope we'll get to do it this year, but the mayor's already doing a proclamation. The city hall is already turning blue. You look to contact the press secretary, and I always get the mayor, I get survivors, I get people from a medical center institution, I get American Cancer Society, and I get the head of our medical center. Everybody knows that I'm going to do this in March at some point. We hold it in the center of the med center. We reach out to the press. We have the proclamation, usually leaning like that, and we all sort of speak. We have, the mayor talk about the importance of screening. You have a survivor. I usually speak as a survivor. Then we have oncologists, GI, and PCPs. So really everybody has a few words. I write the script for them. I'm happy to share the script that I have at any point. So reach out to Erin or myself if you want you to get the script that I reach out asking if they'll speak at this press conference. Literally like, a little paragraph, and the media is there. So you just have to make sure that the mayor stays around and the doctors stay around and any other survivors stay around, because they'll want to probably do a little bit of an interview after you have this press conference, which again is great. So the other thing that I get asked all the time is, this business doesn't have LED lights. They don't have the capability of turning blue. My next ask is, well, on this day that the buildings and landmarks are turning blue, would you have a call to action within your group, organization, business to wear blue? What guy does not have a blue button-down shirt? What girl does not have some blue in their closet? I usually will show them like this color blue, because this is really our blue, but any blue will do. So I just say, I know you want to participate. You don't have lights. Well, will you turn blue? And again, post a picture on social media using the hashtag Blue4 CRC, and we'll share that as well. So anyone can be a part of this, no matter if they have blue LED lights or not. And then if they share, again, I share the Twitter tweets or the social media post information, so they can also tweet, and then we share it among that, as well as that. Next slide, please. Thought I had one more, but I guess the last slide that I have in another presentation is You can do anything and everything along with it. Beth talked about the proclamation. I talked about turning the city blue and a press conference. There also is a giant inflatable colon that the American Cancer Society has. So we have that giant inflatable colon at the press conference, and we have the city turn blue. So we have all three all at once. And then also, sometimes people want to have a March event with the giant inflatable colon. So we sometimes will do things a week leading up, bringing the colon out there to spread awareness so that that one big day where we have the press conference, everyone's ready, everyone knows why everything's blue, and people have many opportunities to talk about colorectal cancer awareness. The more you can do, the more awareness you can spread, the more lives you can save. And that's why I do it. That's why I'm passionate about it. And this is one of my favorite pictures. Not as many buildings in this one downtown were blue that year, but this is a police officer's memorial in one of our major parks in Houston. And they always turn the whole park blue. And so I always love this. Again, one of my favorite pictures that we've gotten from when we've done this initiative. And that's sort of all I have. But if you have any questions, let me know. Erin has a lot of the wording, a lot of the messaging. I have sort of our script that we do at our press conference. So I'm happy to help anybody with any aspect of what I just talked about.
Thank you so much, Allison. Allison is a go-getter and an incredible human being. You don't have to be exactly like Allison. If there is one building in your community that you want to target, that is okay. If you want to target all 50 major buildings in your city, that's great too. Every little bit helps, every little bit counts when we are talking about raising awareness. I have one more short presentation that I want to share with you, and then we can get to our Q&A. Okay. So I think this is sharing now. So we just want everyone to feel comfortable as they're asking for landmarks to go blue, asking for their state for proclamation, asking their mayors for proclamations, to really talk about why it's important. And your stories as patients, as caregivers, as survivors are the reason why turning things blue is important and talking about colorectal cancer screening is important. So as we talk about and get ready for Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, there's a couple things that you can do to kind of set yourself up to share your story in an effective way. One is just let your care team know that you want to share your story. Talk to your oncologist, talk to their communications team, and tell them that you are open to sharing your colorectal cancer story. We hear from medical facilities all the time who are looking for patients to share their journey. And if you are willing to do that, they are forever grateful. Share your story with advocacy organizations. Contact Elizabeth. Let me know you want to share your story. We both share tons of stories throughout the year, but are especially looking for patients, survivors, caregivers, and others in the space to talk about their colorectal cancer journey. So reach out to us, reach out to other organizations, reach out to your local organizations as well. It doesn't hurt my feelings if you share it with multiple organizations either. If you want to continue from there, you can research your local health reporters, see who is covering health stories at the moment, watch the news and see what reporter does the COVID stories. They might also be interested in doing stories about other healthcare initiatives. You can always contact them through the website or DM them on social media and just tell them who you are and briefly share your story and say, Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month is coming up. Let me know if you want to talk to a patient, survivor, or caregiver. And then again, going back to your healthcare organization, offering your doctor as an expert, most would be thrilled with that opportunity as well. When you are sharing your story with the media, make sure you know some basic stats about your own cancer, as well as CRC stats in general. Fight CRC and the coalition both have great resources to find that information. And write your story in advance and think about it. How would you tell your story in a tweet? How would you tell your story as a paragraph for a Facebook or an Instagram post? And then if you were to do a longer story and write it yourself, what would it look like in blog format in a longer, like 5-paragraph? How do you condense your journey into that type of that type of format to make an effective appeal to other people that get screened. If you have 15 seconds to actually tell somebody your story, what does that look like? It's 3 to 5 sentences, and then practice it in the mirror. So when you are asked that question, why are you sharing your story? You are ready with that answer. And then you can look at other iterations. Again, this is all kind of above and beyond the things that, if you want to go the extra mile, but what would your story sound like in a 30-second live interview, 60 seconds at Call on Congress in front of your legislator, 3 minutes if you have to talk to someone in a live interview, or a 15-minute taped interview, or talking in a session like this. If you share your story with your workplace or a group of people, what would it look like in a 30-minute kind of in-depth conversation, either for a news article or just sharing your story with a group of people, and then practice it. But from there, I think we are ready to hit some Q&A. Before we do that, though, all the resources that Allison referenced are located on that website, the coloncancercoalition.org/Blue4CRC. There is a toolkit specifically for volunteers and advocates, and there's also a second toolkit for healthcare systems and others in the healthcare field who want to engage their patients and their communities as well. So I guess, can I invite Allison and Beth and Elizabeth to come back, and we'll do some Q&A. I don't think there is a lot, but actually I don't know that we have any. So if there are any questions, someone please drop something in the chat right now. That would be amazing. Otherwise, I guess Beth and Allison really did a great job of talking about their stuff. Elizabeth, do you want to share anything about Call on Congress or anything that Fight CRC has coming up for March?
Sure. So during March, if you want to take your advocacy one step further, we hope you'll join us at Call on Congress March 16th and 17th. You can participate virtually through virtual Hill meetings, or you can join us in Washington, D.C. as we rally on the National Mall with members of Congress and advocacy partners. We're going to have the first ever colorectal cancer installation that will have over 27,000 flags. So we hope we'll see you there. And if you want to learn more, go to fightcrc.org/CONC. That's my little plug because I want to see you all there.
That would be great. I'm hoping to be there. I know several people. We're really looking forward to gathering together. It's a really, really impactful weekend, or I guess middle of the week. But one of the first things I did when I started with the coalition, one of my first trips was to Call on Congress. So I'm very excited to return this year. I guess, like I said, there haven't been any questions. Molly with Fight CRC did drop the link for Call on Congress into the chat. People can go find that there as well. I'll give like 30 more seconds. If anyone has any questions, feel free to, is there perhaps a Slack channel or Facebook group for volunteers to stay up to date about what others are doing? You know, right now there is not. That is actually a very interesting idea. I don't know, Elizabeth, if Fight CRC has anything for advocates. Otherwise, that's something that we can explore on our end as well.
Yes, we have a Facebook group, advocates at fightcrc.org or Fight CRC. It's on Facebook. So if you search advocates fight colorectal cancer, you should be able to find it. And I'll drop the chat in here too.
And also, like, just if you look up the hashtag Blue4CRC, you can sort of see what people did last year and what people are doing sort of throughout the year, because it's used a lot. So I always look at hashtags not only on Facebook, but on Instagram and Twitter, sort of to get an idea. You can look sort of the top ones on Twitter, see what people posted and shared. You can look at, the most recent ones. So it will maybe give you ideas of things maybe we didn't even mention here. But reaching out to like where you were treated, or institutions in your city, your town, or nearby, seeing what they're doing. If they aren't doing anything, this is what they can do. but then also offering to tell your story if they are doing anything. They're always looking for people to tell their story, always. That's really sort of how I got started. Someone knew I was a colorectal cancer survivor where I was treated at MD Anderson, and they asked if I'd be willing to go into a room and share my story on camera. First time I'd ever spoken, this is when I was still in treatment. And after that, everything sort of like spiraled. They asked me to do more and more, and then I got more involved in advocacy. And people are always, March is going to be huge. In my opinion, I think March is going to be huge this year, with the age changing to 45 for screening, and then the loophole just being changed, the policy change and everything, which is huge. Yes.
So
huge.
exciting. So exciting.
So they are going to be doing media stuff in March. They might be doing it now. Reach out to your institutions now and say, hey, I have a story to tell. Do you need a survivor? I'm going to do that tomorrow. Be like, hey, I'm sure you'll get talked to about this, how it's going to affect your institution. Pitch yourself, because you all have a story to tell. And the more times you can tell it, the more comfortable you get at it, but also the more awareness you're spreading.
Everyone, I just want to introduce the last face that just popped into our grid here. This is Maggie Soto. She's new to the Colon Cancer Coalition team on the comms side. So she's been kind of in the back end, just making sure things run smoothly, but just wanted to introduce her since she just popped up here at the end.
No pun intended with the back end. Haha.
We love puns at the Colon Cancer Coalition.
We have to. Yes, sorry, my camera was a little fussy there. I think my internet connection may have been a little off, but I am here in my blue now, and I've been able to follow along. Thank you to everybody for your time and for your talent that you're lending us. I do see a question here in the chat from Lindsay. Don't worry, Lindsay, I won't be able to remember all of this either, so never fear, this is being recorded. We actually would encourage, if you think that there are other people in your community who would be interested, like we've been saying, like Allison's been saying about sharing their stories, or just people that you know are just do-gooders and are looking for a way to make an impact. The nice thing about a lot of this work is also, especially after the holidays, we understand that there is a real donation fatigue that can happen when it comes to monetary things. The beautiful thing is this is time. This isn't money at all. So we know that there's a great deal of momentum, particularly with this new announcement about the cost sharing loophole being closed. For those not in the know, previously the rule had been that you could do at home samples, like stool sampling tests, to detect if there was blood in your stool or presence of cancer cells, and any abnormal test results that would come back from that would result in, like, okay, you need to go get a colonoscopy now, and that colonoscopy would not be fully covered or maybe even covered at all by insurance. But now that loophole has closed because the current administration has dubbed that that second component, that colonoscopy, should be considered part of the initial screening process. This is a huge removal of a barrier for many people, so who were maybe hesitant to get the full colonoscopy initially, or maybe didn't, and wanted to just start with a smaller and less invasive procedure and screening test. So this is very exciting. I'm still holding out hope that like MSNBC is going to have this as like their their like big news at the beginning. Maybe not that, but yes, this is very exciting. So we're definitely going into March with really good news and really a lot of excitement and passion. So thank you.
All right, I think Elizabeth, Beth, Allison, any closing remarks? Or I think we're going to give people 15 minutes back of their evening, and thank everyone for being here. We'll put the recording hopefully by the end of the week, if not very, very early next week. We'll make sure an email goes out to this group when that link is available as well. And it'll also be on that coloncancercoalition.org/Blue4CRC webpage.
I'll just say that everyone that joined tonight, you obviously have a passion and want to do something like this. And like Erin said, one building, get where you work to turn blue, do anything related to awareness in March. And either Fight CRC or the coalition could be your resource to help you. They can give you everything you need. And if you need to practice your story, I'm sure there are other advocates like myself and people online that will help you. It's super easy. I was not into public speaking. People don't believe me when I say it now, but I think you all can make a difference wherever you live. And also I think maybe on either the advocate page on Facebook for Fight CRC, if you want to be like, hey, I'm in Boston and I want someone that will do this with me, you can post that. And I know Fight CRC has ambassadors all over, and then I'm on that page too, so I can find out if there's someone in the coalition that, because they have races all over. So like, I think you can make those connections through both orgs on social media, so you don't have to do it alone.
Yep.
And I just wanted to add a quick thing, and that is that even if you aren't comfortable sharing your story to a television reporter live on the air, it can be a little nerve-wracking. Even if you start just sharing your story with your friends, your family, you really do become more comfortable in that. And then before you know it, you're talking to, you know, total strangers about your poop and stuff. And just know that we are helping save lives. When we tell our stories, right before this, I got a note from a girlfriend of mine who I volunteer with at a local animal shelter, and she had her colonoscopy. And today she took a friend of hers who has a history of family colorectal cancer to get her colonoscopy. So it's really a domino effect, and then it makes them really help take ownership of their own health. And then it makes you feel like, you know, maybe you did help someone and potentially save somebody's life. So it's not as difficult as it sounds. Sometimes you just have to jump in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Beth. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. Let us know if there's any questions. And yeah, I don't want to let you go because it's so fun to see all the panelists' faces and see all the messages in the chat. But I'm going to close it out, and we'll see y'all hopefully soon. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.